And turning now to a new report raising serious ethical questions for Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. The article released by ProPublica says that Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas accepted luxury trips from conservative billionaire and Republican donor Harlan Crow. According to the report, Thomas, quote, has accepted luxury trips virtually every year from the Dallas businessman without disclosing them. NBC News has not been able to independently verify this reporting. Joining us now to discuss is NBC News Supreme Court reporter Lawrence Hurley. Lawrence, good morning. So first off, what are some of the key takeaways from the report and the ethical concerns that are being raised? What exactly are those?
There's two sort of different issues here. One is the fact that these previously undisclosed trips, were cost a lot of money and went on for a long time, and no one knew anything about this. The second question is, whether there was an actual breach of the ethics rules that judges have, which is the question of whether Justice Thomas was required to disclose these trips on his annual reports that they have to issue. And that question is sort of debated. But the broader question is it acceptable for a justice to accept these kind of trips anyway, whether or not they're allowed? And that's a sort of broader question that isn't really covered by these ethics rules.
Lawrence, I wanted to touch on that because there has been growing pressure for the Supreme Court to adopt a code of ethics. They've been making a lot of headlines, and it's not for their rulings, but a lot of ethics concerns, as we're discussing. They say they tend to follow the code of conduct that judges for lower courts follow. But these trips that ProPublica unveiled are now being debated about whether or not they're in violation of that code. What can you tell us about that? And if they are a violation, Thomas's trips, could he actually see repercussions for that?
Yeah, so actually up until like a month ago, it was really unclear what kind of exemptions there are for justices when they're reporting about trips involving personal hospitality, which is like basically when they're going to stay with their friends, going out for dinner, that type of thing. And it seems like there was a sort of a big loophole here where, things like private travel and staying at private resorts didn't necessarily have to be disclosed. And there's a lot of debate over that going on right now between ethics experts. Some think it should have been reported, some say it shouldn't. But the rules were just tweaked last month. And so now going forward, it's very clear that they do have to be disclosed. But that hasn't stopped the debate in Congress, where a lot of lawmakers, including the chairman of the Judiciary Committee in the Senate, are pushing for the court to adopt the same or similar code of ethics that lower court judges have to follow. And that would really sort of tighten things up, although even then there are questions about whether that could be enforceable because of separation of powers concerns.
And Lawrence, briefly here, has anyone involved, Justice Thomas, the Supreme Court, or Harlan Crow, actually responded to this report?
The court has not said anything. Justice Thomas hasn't said anything. Harlan Crow has put out a statement saying that it's a friendship with Justice Thomas, purely and simple. He's never tried to influence anything that the justice has done, and he's kind of saying this was just personal hospitality, and it was perfectly okay.
A lot to watch here from the Supreme Court. Lawrence Hurley, thank you so much.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.